Yes, he did.
To play cornerback for the Falcons.
Mm-hmm.
Did you make that much the whole time you were playing baseball?
I don't think I can count that high. No, I never made that kind of money. Never. And it was never offered to me. I don't know whether I would have accepted it or not if they would have offered me $69 million. I'll tell you how much money I made.
Mm-hmm.
No secret. The highest salary I ever made in playing baseball after 23 years was $200,000.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. And the lowest salary I made, well, when I say the lowest, I mean absolutely nothing, was absolutely $200 a month. And I played in the Negro League with the Indianapolis Clowns, and $200 of that, I sent $100 to my mother every month, and I lived off that.
That's almost as little as I made preaching. Of course, it was in the same country, but now Eric knows athletes in a different world.
I do. I trained professional athletes for 8 to 10 years. Coming out of Georgia Tech, I learned how to put a system together. And one of the main things that makes this so incredible is to watch the story of Hank Aaron after his career, being able to do the miraculous things, because the athletes that I trained, they were struggling during their career to maintain money. And to hear the amount of money that he's made and that he made playing, and then to hear about how he's become a philanthropist beyond that is truly remarkable. And I think that's what we really want to hear the story of.
Thank you.
So you didn't make but $200,000, but you hit 755 home runs.
Right.
And you decided that you were going to help 755 young people chase their dreams.
That was my idea. I had, when I retired from baseball after playing 23 years, I wanted to do something, and I didn't want, and I remember this so vividly, and I was in Baltimore, Maryland, and I was with a friend of mine who was a sports writer, and he and I went out to dinner that afternoon. His name was Lou Chapman, and I told Lou Chapman, I said, Lou, I said, I can't, baseball is something that I can't do anymore. The balls, I think I should hit over the fence. They only get to the warning track. And I said, I slide it, thinking I'm stealing second base, and I get no further than that. And I said, I'm retiring. He said, why don't you go and tell the commissioner? Well, it wasn't the commissioner then, it was Bud Selig. And I went and I talked to Bud, and I said, Bud, I said, one thing I want you to remember, that I don't want somebody giving me a year's supply of Coca-Cola. I don't want somebody to give me an automobile. I said, I want to do something that after 10 years or 15 years that I retired from baseball, that they say, you know, this kid benefited from your name and the money that you gave him to finish school. That's what I want to do. My wife and I decided to have what we call Chasing the Dream Foundation, and we established that, in which I'm very glad.
So where'd the money come from?
Well,
Billy wasn't rich. Billy was a school teacher.
No, that's right. She was a school teacher. She didn't make any money either. Where the money came from, really, and of course, with your help and the people around Atlanta and all over the country, was the fact that I remember that for years I went and I signed autographs for $200 a pop, and I would put all the money into the foundation, until one day she told me, she said, you need to raise some money. We need to try to do something. And for years, of course, you knew her. She worked for the United Negro College Fund as a fundraiser and was very good at it. And I said, well, what do you want us to do? She said, well, let's have a fundraiser. Let's have a birthday party for you. And I remember this so vividly. My 65th birthday, I had a party here in Atlanta. And to cut things short, I remember Governor it was all the governor was there, and we had all the dignitaries were there. And on that night, we raised $1 million for my foundation. $1 million, and that's really what kicked it off, the foundation. And from then on, of course, we started raising money, and now we have a total of over 700 and some odd kids that we've helped all over the country.
But now there was a period in there that I remember Clarence Avon.
Clarence Avon
called me and he said, "Do you know Hank Aaron?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "He just broke Babe Ruth's record." I said, "Yeah." He said, "I don't care about sports, but anybody black that breaks a record that's lasted that long, he needs to make some money." And he said, "Can you call him and tell him I'd like to be his agent?"
Yes.
He said, "I don't want to charge him anything. I don't want any expenses, but I think I know about making money. I don't know about baseball." And so I think you all started a kind of, with the independent help, started on a business career.
Yes, Clarence Avon was my dear friend, and if any of you know Clarence, he owned at that time, and he owned Sussex Records.
Sussex Records.
Yeah, and he had some high vocal people working with him, and of course he had his own way of doing things. You know, if he wanted to speak to somebody at Coca-Cola, it was Clarence Avon's way of doing it. You know, I mean, it wasn't my way or anybody's way. It was his way. And he was the first one that got me, after I broke the record, he was the first one that got me the contract with Magnavox for, I think that contract would call for $500,000 for Magnavox. But he was the one that was instrumental in getting that contract for me. But I got to know Clarence not only because of what he stood for, but what he stood for as far as helping me and other black athletes across this country.
But you've been giving away money that you didn't raise, you worked for. You had, I mean, well, Popeye's fried chicken in Atlanta is Hank Aaron's chicken with you and your son-in-law.
Right.
When you eat Popeye,
you eating Hank Aaron chicken.
You eating Hank Aaron chicken. And,
doing very well.
About how many of those?
We have 26 stores.
Okay.
Yeah, we have 26 stores. We've done well, but my philosophy, as always, has been, Andy, as I have said many times, is to give back. You know, really, no matter what.
Well, I don't know how much you make it, but I know.
I try to give back, you know, really. And
well, I know you gave away $5 million to Morehouse this year.
Yeah. And
$3 million to the medical school.
Right.
And $2 million to the college.
I love it. My wife loves to give. She loves to give.
Yeah, but now that's also some Krispy Kreme.
We have 2 Krispy Kremes.
Oh, just 2. Okay. Yeah. And then what happened to churches?
We sold those.
Okay.
So we had about 15, and we sold most of them. But you know, my philosophy is as always, you know, is to try.
I remember one time when there was a white baseball player that got in trouble in New York, and they brought him to me. Because he had a temper. What was it? What was that man's name? Charles Rocker. John Rocker. And I told John, I said, John Rocker, I said, look, you got to be cool in baseball. I said, now, I can't tell you about it, but I took him out to call you, and I took him out to your dealership.
You did.
And that was a BMW dealership?
A BMW dealership, yes.
Okay, and then there was one across the street. Yes. There was something else?
Right.
And so
yes.
I mean, You are Mr. Business. You ain't no home run king. You made more money in a Popeyes than you did hitting a home run.
Well, that's true. That is so true. But
So if you figure all the money you made to 40
yes,
and the money you made, you're not 80. Well, I mean,
80, 85, 83.
83.
well, you
We're
in that
80
neighborhood.
something,
But all I'm saying is, the last 40 years using your brain and your heart,
Yes.
you've done more. You've done as much good. Now, I can't underestimate though. I don't want to underestimate hitting those home runs because when you came to Atlanta in 1965, we were country town. And I remember when the Braves drove in, I was on Spring Street, and a couple of the good old boys said, we're going to have to be a big league town because that man's going to have to live anywhere he wants to in this town, and nobody shouldn't complain. Well, I was so pleased to hear that, but I was even more pleased that when everybody said you could live anywhere you wanted to live, you chose the same neighborhood I was living in.
I love it too.
Yeah.
Right
And,
down the street from me.
And so you made an impact on this city with a baseball bat and a good spirit.
Thank you. Thank you.
And,
Thank you. Thank you.
but I want you to tell me about the time. I want you to tell me about the time your mama called you and remember the.
Oh, I was getting ready to tell you that story.
Good.
It was well, you can tell I'm a country boy from Mobile, Alabama. Mardi Gras first got started. But anyway, I remember the story that you were referring to, and it was the fact that there were no, when it gets dark, it's dark in Mobile, where I stayed at. It was in the country. And I never forget my mother. I used to love baseball. I throw it no matter what time of night it is. I throw it thinking I could catch it. But anyhow, I remember one night, and not just one night, maybe several nights. I remember my mother called me, and she said, she used to call me Man, M-A-N, because I was a huge baby when I was born. And she used to tell me, she used to holler, man. And I used to listen to her. She said, come here. And I ran, and she said, get it under the bed. I said, under the bed? She said, yeah, under the bed. And back then, you had those beds that you could slide under. I went under the bed. And sure enough, about 5 minutes later, the Ku Klux Klan came marching down the street, throwing torches and all around, And my mother always, after that happened, she always would tell me, she said, the one thing I want you to remember is don't let this stand in your way of doing the very best that you can do. Although there are some bad people, but still, you go and do the very best that you can. And I think about that quite often. Even now, I try to tell my children. The most important thing is that don't let anything stand in your way. And for God's sake, have children, tell them, don't make shortcuts. Shortcuts is not permissible. Because if you make shortcuts, you're going to be in trouble. And those are the things that I like.
I was trying to say to John Rogers last night that, and I didn't quite put it this way, but we never felt like victims in the South.
No.
We knew it was bad, but we were raised to be bad enough to deal with it and not get upset. I mean, I don't know anybody any cooler than you.
Well, it was tough.
Have you ever get mad?
I try not to. I try to stay as calm as I can because I feel like, playing baseball is if I strike out with the bases loaded and come back, the bat had absolutely nothing to do with it. Nothing had anything to do with it. It's me. I either did something wrong at the plate and I don't worry about it. And the next day, of course, I go and look in the mirror at home and practice swinging. But I try not to get angry, really. I try to keep my cool and try to make sure that my children stay the same way because, I mean, an angry man is a defeated person, really, and I don't want to be defeated.
Okay. So, what is the role now? I mean, we see two influencers on the stage. I mean, it's obvious, and everyone here at Operation Hope is an influencer, or influencer like myself, an influencer in training. So, what is the role for those of us that are coming along right now in a new era that you've seen, that both of you have wisdom on, that you can point us in that direction to say, hey, watch that pothole, keep your head cool here, and what are those things that you can give us that we can move forward with?
Well, what I like to think about really is to think about the things that Andy and Dr. King and some of the civil rights leaders, what they did and what they had to go through. And what I did was absolutely a God-speaking thing that he put up on. He said, "You're going to be a baseball player." But you, Andy, Dr. King, and all of the civil rights people were the one that paved the way for yours truly to get where he is today. And I am so thankful. I am so thankful for that, because I don't know, when you say I didn't get angry, I don't know that I could have taken all of the abuse and some of the things that you...
I think you took more abuse.
Yeah, well, thank you very much.
No, I mean, yeah. When you stop and think that in the ballparks in the 50s and 60s, you could see in a building across the street, and you could get as straight a line on you as they got on John Kennedy or Dr. King.
Thank you.
And you got threats like that almost every day.
I did. I got quite a
And
few.
so, but I'm going back, I'm a little older than you, but my daddy wanted me to be a baseball player. And he wanted me to be a dentist. And he never quite forgave me. Even when I got sworn in as UN ambassador, and Thurgood Marshall swore me in, he said, "You must be proud of this boy." He said if he'd have been a dentist, he'd have been somebody. And he never forgave me. I said, "But Daddy," I said, "you grew up in the country. We ain't got no place to play baseball here." But he used to throw the ball up over the
roof.
The street lights.
Street lights, okay.
The wires. And he'd have me throwing it up and running and catching it on my shoulder. Because Willie Mays
Yeah.
used to catch the ball over his shoulder.
That's right.
And he'd throw me little pieces of rubber tire and a broomstick to try to have something small enough to make me hit it and keep my eye on the ball. He worked on me trying to make me a baseball player. But you can't play baseball in today's cities.
That's true.
And but my heroes were you, Jackie Robinson, Satchel Paige. I knew who Josh Gibson was, and don't forget Joe Louis,
Right.
and Jesse Owens, and before we had political leaders, the sports heroes were our role models, and I think that's true today. Now, Charles Barkley said he doesn't want to be a role model. Actually, he is more and more becoming a role model.
I think you're right.
He gave $2 million
To Clark
and
Alabama
State.
Yeah,
and the University of Alabama.
Yeah, one.
But I'm saying
Not
that,
University of Alabama. I know that.
they're beginning to. They wouldn't give it to University of Alabama. He might have given it to Auburn.
Yeah, he might have gave it to Auburn. He wouldn't have gave it to Alabama.
But there is a role, and you've had LeBron James trying to organize athletes to find a way to plan what to do with the money they're making. And he's making them think about how to put away money and invest money so that they will have some of the money they've made. Because money, you cannot make money as fast as money can make money.
That's true.
And you got to learn to make money work for you. Mm-hmm. And I think if we can get, I mean, you didn't have any choice. I mean, you didn't have any money making in baseball to do anything but survive, but we ought to mention Curt Flood.
Oh, that's right. That's exactly right. If it don't be for Curt Flood, you don't have these ball players making millions and millions and millions of dollars. You know, really.
Because baseball was.
Oh, I remember my first year playing in the World Series in 1957, probably before many of you were born. I remember that I was waiting on my baseball check to come in from the commissioner's office, and it was about 10 days late, so finally it got to me. And the share at that time was $11,000, and I was living in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I remember I went to the teller and put the check up on his balance. He said, "What do you want me to do with this, Mr. Aaron?" I said, "I want you to cash it." He said, "You want me to put it in your account or give it to you?" I said, "I want you to count it all out, put it in a paper bag, and give it to me so I can go home with it." And he said, "You sure you want to carry this money home?" I said, "Yes, sir, I want to carry it home." So he put it in a paper bag. I went home in Milwaukee. I went in the little place where I was staying at. I pulled down all the shades, you know, and I emptied $11,000 on the bed. And I decided, I said, "Oh my God, I've never seen this much money in my life. What am I going to do with it?" So finally I decided, you better start learning how to pay some bills. So sure enough, that's what I started paying. And after I paid all of my bills, I think I had $117 left after all that money that I had, $11,000. But you talk about money, that's, you know, money is money. You know, money, as you said before, if you got money, you make money, you know. And I always felt, my wife and I both have always felt that in order for you to be successful in life, no matter what you do, is you have to learn how to share your blessings with others. If you don't know that, then you're going to lose it.
Well, that's, you know, we all had grandmamas.
Yes.
And my grandmama said to me, "Oh, you blessed, son. And to those to whom much has been given, of them is much required." And she said, "Now, it ain't suggested, it's required."
Required. That's right. That's right.
And don't you forget it. See? And I think we didn't have much. She raised 11 children, only 5 of them were hers. She took in 6 children and raised them, and I don't know where she got the money. I think a little later on, one of my uncles ran a little moonshine on the side, maybe. And another one worked in the hotel, and he was providing the moonshine in the hotel, and they had to quit school and educate my mama. And my mama went my mama got a chance to get a teacher certificate in one of the forerunners of the United Negro College Fund, Straight College, which is now Dillard University. See, and so we all kind of came up really by the grace of God. Mm-hmm. And they never let us forget how blessed we were.
That's right. That's true.
Now, I didn't know about financial literacy, except that during the war, we had to do savings bonds, and we had to collect defense stamps, and we used to have to take up trash, paper, and sell it, and collect coat hangers and bottles, and the schools used to compete, and I'd always want my class to win, so I'd work hard every weekend trying to get defense bonds. And I forgot all about them until somebody came to try to sell my daddy some mutual funds. And he said, I don't have any money. I'm just trying to save something to send these boys to college. And I said, do mutual funds make more money than defense bonds? He said, oh, yeah, much more. I said, Mama, how much do you have those defense stamps and bonds? And it turned out I had almost $200 that I had forgot about. And I said, can I do a mutual fund with this? And I was about 11, 12. And the guy said, oh, yeah. I said, what? So I bought a mutual fund in paper, because that's all I knew something about. I said, people are always going to use paper. They'll use toilet paper if they don't use nothing else. And so I invested in a paper mutual fund. Then when I got out of school and I told my daddy I wasn't going to be a dentist, he said, well, you on your own. And I said, I said, I think I'm going to seminary. He said, well, all the preachers I know are either poor or crooked. And so if you're going to be a preacher, God bless you. Because I ain't going to have nothing to do with it. And then I said, my mama said, remember that mutual fund? I said, yeah. She said, we could see how much it's worth, and then you'd at least have something to start with. Turned out that it had grown in the 8 years since high school, beginning high school, and ending college. In 8 years, that $200 had become almost $650. And because that was right after the war, and the stock market was doing well. And so when we cashed it in, I had $400 to buy my first car, a little English Ford, and $150 to try to make it to Connecticut. And so I should have known the value of saving money, but I never had much money to save after that. Not through the movement and everything else, not until just recently. And John Bryan and Operation Hope and the banks here kind of helped me. I told this story the other night, but with 4 kids, I had messed up finances. Young lady from one of the, I think SunTrust, came up to me in church and said, I'd like to be your personal banker. And I thought I was helping her. I said, oh, yeah, you can be my personal banker. And she was just out of Spelman and real fine. And so my motives were obviously mixed. And my wife came up it was in church. And my wife came up and said, hi, how you doing? And I said, this lady is going to be our personal banker. She said, we sure need one. When can you come by? When she sat down and took all of the debts that I had accumulated with 4 kids in school, and I had already been a preacher with the civil rights movement, a congressman, and I was ambassador to the United Nations, and I was mayor. And she went through all my business, and she started combining notes and refinanced my house and paid off all of these bills. And by the time she got through, interest rates when I had first financed my house was something like 9.5%, and I got a 3.9% mortgage. She put all of my bills up under my house note, and I saved $973 a month. See, and so I'm important. I'm a congressman. I'm an ambassador, and they got me banking like a country. You know what? But they gave me, when they finally got me, you talk about financial literacy. If financial literacy can make me $973 a month by learning how to manage money just a little bit better. And I didn't have any money to get that. How much money you all have, I guarantee you, everybody here, if you sat down with a good financial counselor, you could probably save $500 to $1,000 a month. And so you might be here thinking you come in here to help poor people, but you is the poor people. You don't know about money. And you need to get your finances together, and then you will be somebody. And the more you got, the more you give, and the more you get, and the more you'll save.
That's true. That's true.
It's in the Bible. And I ain't cracking, I'm packing.
That's pretty good, Ambassador.
A great closing.
Well, where do we go from here?
Well, out of all the things that you have been involved with,
We talking about you now. I talked about me.
Well, I like
you.
to hear about you too. You know, you've got some things that we all should be very proud of. You know, really. I mean, I'm proud. Yeah, I am proud of the fact that what
I'd
you.
have been a baseball player. I'd have been somebody.
But you wouldn't have made any money though. But no, seriously, I think that what you, and I said this, I know you're talking about me and you're talking about certain things, but when you start thinking about all of the things and the good things that you have done, not only for the likes of myself and for the country, what you have done, you know, I think it's just something that we all can be very proud of, you know, really. I'm just overwhelmed at the idea of knowing you as a mayor, ambassador, and congressman, all the things that you've done, you know, really. And I just want to say that it's been something that I've always cherished in my life.
The clock just saved my marriage. That red thing. We 4 minutes over. Going on that. But it's a good thing because I was about to tell you all how my wife bought me this suit. And if I told it, I wouldn't have been able to go home. I mean, because this is a beautiful, brilliant, absolutely drop-dead gorgeous goddess of a woman. Master's degree, straight A's. She called herself making a sale and didn't have a credit card with her, so they opened an account and gave her a credit card at that store to buy me a suit on sale, to surprise me. And then she forgot the damn card. And we discovered it a few months later. I said, where did this come from? Oh, Lord. I said, baby, okay, let's say it's $1,000 suit, and you got it for $200, but you've been paying 13% interest on that $200 because you forgot. And I said, I don't want to know how much it costs, but don't have any hidden credit cards. Please don't surprise me with no cheap suit. I look good in the suits you got already. But I'm saying that, and I am going to catch hell.
Save it now.
No, I'm saying, though, that there is nobody, I guarantee you there is not anybody in this room that has not done something financially absolutely ignorant and stupid in the last 30 days. I'm insulting everybody in the room. You have done something ignorant and stupid financially. So don't come here thinking you're helping poor people. You got to get your own finances together. And thank you, John. And I don't know whether I need a lawyer or a counselor, but I don't think she'll leave me. But I will catch hell. But I did it to keep you from living in hell.
The sacrifice.
And living in debt is living in hell. And going deeper and deeper down into the fires of hell. God help them.
This is televised on MSNBC, Telemundo. Oh my God, there is nobody on the planet like that man.
Not at all.
No one.
Are we on television?
You on television, yes. And Carolyn gonna whip your last rear end when you get home. I know Carolyn Young. She don't play. No, she'll be sweet and gracious and forgiving. Well, we'll let Billy talk to her. By the way, I want to give acknowledgement to Hank's better half, who is an amazing singer. I think the way that they got together was, she was fine, yeah, but she probably sang a little bit and just.
No, she was.
Yes.
She had a morning television show.
Really?
And met him, interviewing him after he moved after a baseball game.
Yeah.
And she didn't know anything about sports. And Dr. Mays told her about it and said, you need to talk to that fella some more. He can teach you a little bit more about sports.
Right.
And so Dr. Mays kind of hooked that up. Well, when Benjamin Mays laid his hand on Martin Luther King, he got a Nobel Prize. When he laid his hand on Billy, she got Hank.
All right, so there's a great Benjamin Mays quote, and I'm going to give you one quick story about Ambassador Young, and then we're going to go. Have you guys enjoyed this? Yeah. And I see Amy and Jeff Schmidt back there, the CEO of Mutual of Omaha, and his wife. They're just dying with laughter, and I'm glad to see a smile on your Omaha face. Benjamin Mays also said, this was Dr. King's mentor at Morehouse. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s mentor was Benjamin Mays. My mentor, as you know, is Ambassador Young, and my personal hero. I love the man, and my play father. So Benjamin Mays once said that that the greatest sin was not failure. It was low aim. Mm-hmm. The greatest sin is not failure. It's low aim. Or the Bible says, be hot or be cold. But if you're lukewarm, I'll spat you out. Translation, even God is not like mediocrity. And I think that's what Ambassador Young and Mr. Hank Aaron have been trying to say is, if you're going to fall forward. The success is going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. That take no for vitamins. Never give up, never give in. As Dr. King said in Memphis, no one can ride your back unless you bent over. And if you're going to be a trash collector, be the best trash collector the world has ever seen. Live your life with excellence, because you're not a black leader. You're to be a great leader who happens to be black, or brown, or white, or Yes, sir.
You're the first person I've ever heard remind Hank of another record he has that we shame to talk about. We scared to talk about.
Can I say it? I see you got that cane next to you. I ain't playing. I know you can swing it too. I'm not playing around. Should I mention it? Can I mention it?
Yeah.
All right. So Hank Aaron has the record we all know for the most legitimate home runs.
In all of baseball.
But you may or may not know that Hank Aaron has a record also for the most strikeouts. This is literally true. You cannot hit a ball that you do not swing at. And you are going to miss 100% of the shots you do not take. And so while his success is celebrated, in many ways what Hank Aaron understood, this is why we really wanted him to be here today, he really understands better than almost anybody else that rainbows only follow storms. It is a scientific fact that you cannot have a rainbow without a storm first. Don't run away from your problems. Run to them. So I'm going to leave you with a quick, funny story about Ambassador Young that almost nobody hears. Ambassador Young was in the South where his late, beautiful, amazing wife, Jean Charles Young, a town she grew up in. In fact, Dr. King's wife and Jean Charles Young grew up in the same little small town. What's the name of the town?
Marion, Alabama.
Marion, Alabama. What's the chances of this that Dr. King's wife, Coretta Scott King, and Jean Charles Young were born in the same little stoplight town together? And so Ambassador Young goes back there as a UN ambassador. It was a big deal. He goes back there, and they've got parades and all this pomp and ceremony. And this will remind you about how strong Jean Charles Young was, how strong Carolyn Young is, and why he's going to have to put a helmet on when he goes home. When he walks in, he's going to have to duck because Carolyn's going to be there. This is how strong these women are. He was gracious, but very strong. So Jean Charles Young is in the car with Ambassador Young. They are riding through town. Ambassador Young is feeling good. You know, he's UN ambassador. He's sitting there, and he says, "Now." So Jean says, "Now, baby, over there in the corner, you see that bum over there in the corner? The homeless guy? He was in my high school class." And Ambassador Young says, without hesitating, "Well, you know, you could have married him." And without hesitating, Jean Charles Young said this: "Well, Andy, if I married him, he'd be the UN ambassador of the United States of America." And we're convened. Book signing with Ambassador Young tomorrow. Love you guys. See you. Enjoy the reception.